Whoa, now my audio is way up. All right, jump back on, jump back on. Test, test, test. Right, what's up, people? How's my audio now for those of you? Sorry about that, my apologies. It looks like here my audio signal is much higher than it was before. I'm not sure what happened. My apologies for that. Thanks for bearing with me. Sorry again for all the little setbacks there. But someone drop a comment and let me know how things are sounding right here. Let me know. Let me know. Hello. Let's sing one of our songs for while much people get back on. Hey, want to sing? Pia? Okay. All right. So here we go. Thanks for getting back on. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad it sounds much better. Thank you, Jolene Brown. So I'm not sure how much of what I was saying before you were unable to hear about, but again, just kind of reiterating some of what I was talking about in regards to, um, let's see, good, glad it sounds better. Again, I'm not quite sure what it was that you heard last. Um, and so I'm not sure where to pick up off. I know I was saying a lot of things right there too, and I definitely want to reiterate um, these ideas right here. Let me just check to see if anyone says anything. Um, but this again, the idea of evolving indigenous fatherhood, it requires us to look at the ideology, of course, our spiritual ideology of our pre colonial ancestors, but it's applied differently today, as we know, because of our family structures are in disarray. We're much disconnected, and especially during the time of the pandemic when we are have to be socially distant. We can't rely upon our grandparents to teach our children some of the old stories, talk to them in the language or whatever. We can't really rely upon our other relatives that are also parents to help to parent our children, because that's the way it was. Our ancestors and lived in a time where our social structures were so close and tight knit. All of the women doing their work with all the babies and the children around, and they were able to nurture and do child rearing of collectively for all their children. And same thing with some of the young men were able to shadow and be a part of hands-on activity, learning with what the roles of the men were doing. And again, I'm kind of reiterating too, as we know, our world has changed; it's much different. So this is why I invite a lot of young Native fathers to think about how do you think about those things ideologically from that time, and how do we apply them today? It's a little bit different. You're going to have to take on another role within your household because we don't have the help of our extended family to do these things right here. And to think about how I was saying before, I'm not sure if you heard me. If you're not sure, I'm not sure if you heard what I was saying before, but I was saying with my two daughters, I tell people all the time that I'm going to teach them everything I learned as a man, as a boy, and regardless of the so-called traditional role, I think it's important. It's kind of complicated because we're talking about preserving things, but at the same time we're talking about changing things and evolving things. Again, that's because the culture of the time on which our ancestors were living was a result of the environment, was a result of their world. And today, as we know, the environment has changed around us, society has changed around us, so we have to evolve and find out how do we do what makes sense for us here and now. So the ideology is always somewhat stays the same. The teachings, the values stay the same, but the way it's applied, the practice may look different and it may change. So getting back to what I was saying is that with my daughters, I'm going to teach them everything that I was taught to do as a young man. The songs we like to sing, Aloe will sing along, and I started learning, hearing the songs at that age too. And culturally, where I come from, the men lead the songs, but what I will teach her is how to lead if she has to. But what I was saying is that I don't know how much other families in the community are teaching their young boys about the roles that they were to do So we don't know if what's happening right now, say 15, 20 years down the line, when it's their turn to lead things. I don't know how many of them are going to know what the way was to do things, and so I want my daughters to be prepared. They're going to learn these things right here, and they'll figure out what to do with it as time goes. It's really up to them what they do with it as time goes on as well. So they'll learn these things, and they'll learn to hunt and all that. Just like in our family, a lot of us men are out there and planting seeds and doing things that a lot of times women did. Men also worked in the fields because we were corns being squash people, but a lot of times women were there in the planting, and they were in the food processing phases. But that's something that we do today. I know lots of men who do basket making because they had to pick it up because none of the women in their family had picked it up. And so again, this is something for all young and new fathers to think about, is evolving that role and thinking about what things that you're going to need to teach your son or daughter, not knowing how the future will look. And so, so another thing I want to share about too is just some practices that I had done with Aloe. Aloe's right here, by the way. She's down here playing and getting into my stuff, but she's stable, so it's okay. One of the things that I did to connect with her spiritually when she was an infant is, well, first of all, too, I'll even talk about what was told to me by other Native women, and they told me, they said, make sure you assist your wife there when she's breastfeeding. Make sure you get up with her. If she's hungry, bring her something to eat because they get hungry a lot, get thirsty, bring water. Don't just sleep and expect her to do this work by herself because it's hard. And so that was something that I made it a point to do, is try to be up and to be a part of that, be involved and support her. It's a different world today. Our people, sometimes we're different in what we tolerate, because of our world. And so it's important to take on that role. So that's what I did. And then through that, I would take Aloe a lot of times so Chelsea can have, the late morning all the way into or early morning to late morning sleep. And I would take Aloe and I would hold her. I would hold her on my chest and I'd put her here and I'd sit down just like how I am. And I'm doing this too every morning with our other daughter, Weston. I'll set her right here on my chest and I'll take 7 breaths. I breathe in my nose and I exhale. And I start off with much more deeper breaths and try to clear my mind. And what the goal of that is you're trying to align your heart with that child's heart. Not the heartbeat. You're not trying to sync the heartbeat. Boom, 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 boom. What we're doing is we're trying to align that spiritual or electromagnetic frequency that the human heart emits. And it's interesting because the science talks about that. The heart emits this signal. But I was also told by some of my spiritual leaders or traditional healers over time that when you do this, you make this, put your arms out and you do a circumference. They say that's like what your heart extends to. And so you're putting special people in there. So what we can do is we can bring the children to connect with them at a deeper spiritual level, is putting them here on your chest. And what you're doing is you're breathing deeply. And then I can't figure out how to describe it, but what I like to do is I'll breathe in. I'll take a deep breath. I'm holding here. I'll take a deep breath in. And when I exhale, there's a way to squeeze inside of your heart, your chest. And when I do that, I feel a rush. It goes through my arms and it goes through my legs. And if I do it enough times right here, my hands get really warm. So that's your medicine, was what I was told. That's a part of your spirit. And our relatives across the world call it your chi. That's your energy. And we use that energy to do certain things in our life to heal. We direct that energy in our work. We direct that energy in our visions and making those come to fruition. But we can also use that same energy to emit from your heart consciously to align with that child, to connect, to bond. So just like the mama has the bonding time with the child and the breastfeeding or the cuddling, however mama has the bonding, the father can do that too. Fathers can take infant, put them on the chest, take those 7 deep breaths to start, clear your mind. And You don't want to think about anything negative. You don't want to think about your stresses. You don't want to think about, well, what I'm going to do later on today, or I can't wait to get to the gym, or whatever. You're clearing your thoughts. So you're trying to turn your mind off as much as you can, and you're centering your energy and functioning at the heart. Um, at the heart right here, and you're emitting that through your breath, squeezing from the inside with the child. And I was doing this the other morning with Weston, our daughter, and she's just sleeping and so peaceful. She's such a peaceful child. She sleeps really well on my chest. So we sit right here in the office, and I start off, I'll drink some coffee, and sometimes I'll burn some of our medicine right here or smudge, and I like to put on, I like to go on Apple iTunes and find that chill or sleep playlist, and I like to choose the water sounds. So she likes that, and I'll sit there and I'll focus on that. And you can just do it for however long you need. You can do this for 1 to 2 minutes, 5 minutes, but it's a really good way to calm you and relax you. And it's a good way to relax the train of parasympathetic nervous system that's relaxing you. You can think about this in terms of science, but you can think about it in a spiritual sense too. So you're connecting spiritually with that child, and as the child grows, as the child grows, you can still do that, and I still do that a lot of times with Aloe. She's gonna be 3 in a couple of months right here, and she'll have her tantrums, right, like all toddlers do. Need help? You're welcome. Come back whenever you want. But I still do that sometimes with her when she's having her tantrums and she's about to be 3. And I'll put it here, and especially too if it's skin to skin. And I know other fathers that may have had to do that. Aloe was actually born emergency C-section, and at the Indian hospital they say the father's got to be ready to do the skin to skin. So that's what I had to do, and I remember signing that paper saying I would do, but I didn't think that they would come to that, but it came to that immediately. So I took my shirt off, take her right here, and put her right here, and you can feel the warmth, and the baby instantly calms. So you can even do it that way as well. You can do it till I don't know how much longer it's gonna work with her, but like I said, she's 3.5, and a lot of times it works. I don't do it as lengthily as I do with them as their infant, but it still works. It's a way to connect. I believe that we can have nonverbal communication through that energetic interaction. That we can turn this off, this executive functioning area of our brain. We can, well, not turn it off, but we can kind of pull the energy. Your brain takes up 20% of your energy at rest. So if you can refocus that energy down to your chest, your ego, your heart, that sacred center, or even your gut. The gut has lots of nerves in there too, just like the heart, just like the brain. All of these organs have spirit. They all have memory. They all have that ability to have memory in there. You can put that. It's in general. It's important. This general area is what I'm talking about. Putting that child there and breathing and emitting and just imagining. You have to use the imagination. Imagine that heart frequency is resonating. It's emitting out. It's waves like this. Imagine it's waves in a circle. And that child's doing the same thing, because the child at that stage, right, this infant, newborn, baby, as we know, they're sacred, and they're closer to the great Creator. They're closer because their brain is malleable. Everything has yet to be how do you say, conditioned or changed or influenced from the outside world. It's pure. It's raw. It's this raw, pure human a being. And so they're the ones that are able to really, you can really connect with them easily on that, because they don't have these thoughts that are going to interfere and stop them from focusing the energy consciously from right here. So the infants and the babies is really good to be able to do that. And I think that this, I'm going to continue to try these things, because I think that it's a good way also to teach our children about how to self-regulate. And this is something that I have to continue to do as well, because I get times of where I feel stress or I feel irritability, and just from everyday life stuff. And sometimes I get off my track and I get impatient with Aloe. I get impatient with her, and I like put my head back and like, really, and I'll throw my hands up, because she'll have a fit over what I think is a small thing. I think that's a little thing. That's not even a big deal. But in her world, it's big. It's everything because she's just small. She's just learning to regulate her thoughts and her experiences in the world. So I have to reel myself back too. I have to reduce my own stress as well and remove my ego as well from that. And I think that that's a big one with dads as well. I grew up seeing and hearing that a lot in my community. Um, Dads that were not um, acknowledging of their child's feelings. What are you doing? Quit that. Get off the ground. Why are you crying? Like all that kind of, that's the kind of, I heard a lot in my community. And I don't know if that's, some of that is the way our people maybe have parented, but a lot of it also may be influenced from dominant culture, the boarding school era, the religious sect that influenced and shamed our people, that transferred over to parenting. I'm not sure, but it's important for us to know, all young fathers to know the way that many times people parent isn't it's a lot of it, it's a result of the trauma they've experienced in their life as well. So I think that that's really important as well. And if you have the opportunity to pick when you're going to have children, that's something you can do leading up to that, is making sure that you are well on your healing phase. And that's what Chelsea and I have. We were fortunate to be able to do that. We were both met each other while we were on a healing journey. We've both of us used to drink, use drugs. We didn't know, when we got together as friends and met, we didn't know that side of each other. And when we got together, we still didn't know that side of each other. And so that's the beauty of Indigenous parenting today, is you're consciously choosing to heal, and you're consciously, objectively choosing to give your children a well way of life as well. So they won't know that side of me. They're never going to know that. To me, that's a huge accomplishment for all parents, no matter mother, fathers, or in between. That's a huge accomplishment, I think, to be able to say that my child will never see me intoxicated. My child will never see me yelling and arguing at their mother or their father. These are big things, I think, to think about in this wellness phase of Native country. So there's a couple more things too, but we're kind of getting over the time limit there. But I thank you all for, joining me in this idea, this concept of evolving Indigenous fathering. Hopefully, there's some fathers here that were listening, and they might think about how they approach their fathering differently, rather than kind of being influenced from what we're seeing in dominant culture. Think about it from a Native perspective. Think about how healing, cultural revitalization, cultural evolution, Indigenous teachings, indigeneity, how that's a focus within your parenting as well. And remember too that our children learn by watching how we act. They learn by watching how we respond. They learn by choosing to eat because of what they see us eating. They learn to laugh at what we laugh at. So it's really important to know that once we become parents, we are these models. We have to watch it, and I have to remind myself all the time, because I'll do things too that I know Aloe's seeing it and she'll do it, and I think it's my fault. It's not her. It's not her that she wants those gummies. It's because I was eating them in front of her, and she wants those too. So it's taking that accountability and responsibility and really causing us to look inward and say, you know what, I need to take care of myself and heal myself, so the daughter can see that as well. So let me know some of your thoughts in there. If anyone has any quick little comments or questions, drop them in the comment section right there. This is one of my favorite topics. There's so much that can be discussed in this. I had some things that I wanted to say too that I can't really remember what it was, but I'm sure I'll be able to talk about these things in the future. I had actually was able to write a small section in a, excuse me here while I pull it up, a fatherhood. Let me just pull this up right here. I believe it's coming out soon. Let's see. So I was able to co-author a chapter called Handbook of Fathers and Child Development, Prenatal to Preschool. And this is published by Springer. One of the authors is Hiram Fitzgerald, and I was invited on to contribute a section on Indigenous fatherhood and teachings from my friend Josh Allison Burbank, who's recently got his PhD in early childhood development and literacy. And so I'll be sharing those links. Native Wellness will be sharing some of those links though when that comes out there. People can check that out there. There's some great resources within that. But good. Good. Someone said that Alex Hamlin. Yep, she's he. Yep. Holy Fire Reiki practitioner. Yep, awesome. So you definitely know what I'm talking about there. There's many different ways for us to acknowledge it. In different cultures of the world call it different things, but it's essentially the same thing. And it's essentially love. And that's what it is. It's harnessing and giving that love and letting love guide you and move you through the world. Merritt, what's up, Merritt? Where will you share those resources? I need to find out if this book came out yet, but just look for it. Watch on my social media. I'm gonna share it. I'll share it through like my Insta story or something like that. And I'll remember you, Merritt, specifically. I'll send it over to you as soon as that comes out as well. Lots of good resources in that. But again, thank you all for joining us, and thank you for your work that you're doing in your family, and remain vigilant during this time of the pandemic. Even though they're starting to distribute a vaccine, you must remain diligent. However you feel about vaccines, I want to get into that. We must remain diligent and just take care of ourselves and our family. So thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you all again tomorrow on the Native Wellness Institute Power Hour, 12 p.m. Pacific time every day. So tomorrow, check that out. Dahigai.